Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to show you a really fun spring arrangement using tulips as a centerpiece. So Erin and I were at Home Depot last night looking at wood because we're getting ready to build a bunch of tables for our greenhouse, and I walked past a display of these and I couldn't help it. I had to bring some home. So I decided to kind of pick out a few other really pretty things to use with it. I think it's going to turn out really pretty. You might remember these containers. I really love this rustic wood look. I've noticed a lot of it this year too. I don't know if you guys have, but I don't know if whiskey barrels are coming back into style, but I've noticed it everywhere, and it's kind of a fun rustic look. So anyway, you might remember seeing these from a video we did last year where I planted them up with herbs. I'm actually going to do 2 containers that match so I can flank a doorway, and I have it lined just with a black plastic pot because this is just wood on the inside and I wanted to protect that. So they're a little dirty. I cleaned them out pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some soil. So I like to put quite a bit of soil in my containers in the beginning because I would rather have to take soil out rather than add it in, because I am going to be packing this container really full. In spring, you can get away with that because things aren't growing as quickly. And honestly, I'm not intending on getting a ton of time out of this arrangement. I want it to look pretty for a couple months. And then I'm going to utilize all these plants differently in different areas of my garden. Anyway, so I just put my soil probably like 2 inches from the top of this black plastic pot in here, and that's usually about perfect. Now I'm going to add in some slow release plant food before I start planting. About 3 tablespoons. Just work that in. I use a really scientific method of measuring. I don't think you can really go too wrong as long as you're pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to start with my centerpiece plant first, which is of course my tulips. I have 3 of them here. So I'm going to kind of smash them all together right toward the back of this pot. So I'm manipulating their roots just a little bit so I can squish them in pretty close, and they'll be just fine with that. Oh, they are so pretty. I just can't even get over it. Beautiful color. All right, before I start adding a whole bunch of other plants, I'm going to come around the front just to make sure I've got kind of the spacing right. Usually I don't do that. Usually I just keep on designing, but there's a lot of stuff I'm going to want to fit in this pot, so this has really got to be right before I continue. I think I need to, looks pretty good. I think I'm going to try to bump this one back a little bit. Maybe lower this one a bit. That looks good. I think I'm gonna start right back here and then work my way around. And I'm gonna start with this Anytime Dove Pansiola. Beautiful white Pansiola with a little soft yellow white eye. And again, I am working a little bit of the soil off the root ball just because I wanna fit so many things in this pot. It's perfect. Next up is the Toffee Twist Carex. I love the color of this grass with the color of the tulip. I think that is a beautiful combination. The cool thing about putting this grass in with the tulips is that after the tulips have kind of faded out and aren't looking as nice, you know, after the blooms are gone, the grass will kind of take over as the thriller in this arrangement. You can even though it's going to be kind of off-centered, you can go in and rework the container a little bit to bump this a little bit further toward the center, and it's just a beautiful centerpiece. I use it in a lot of my containers. Isn't that beautiful? I'm making a total mess. Let me clean this up a little bit. The next plant I'm going to use is this Sunsatia Lemon Nemesia. These are actually great plants to use in spring container arrangements because they can tolerate cold. I love the bright color of it because it just looks springy. And the other reason why I chose it is because of that little yellow eye in that Pansiola. It kind of brings that out. It makes it pop. So I think it works really well. Yep, see, I have the back. I have the back of it faced. Off my game today. Can you see those better, Erin? Okay. And as I'm going here, I'm making sure that the soil is firmly packed in around each of the root balls, making sure that there's no air pockets so that the plants will stay happy. So the next plant is this beautiful trailing ivy. I actually got this in our houseplant section, but ivy is a super tough plant. I can actually plant this out in the ground somewhere after I'm done using it in a container, and it'll be happy as a clam. I actually already split this in half so I could use the other half in my second container because it was a nice big full plant, and it's really easy to separate them. So I just used my fingers and just kind of ripped apart the root ball. It came apart beautifully. God, it's so pretty. Okay, looks like I have 2 plants left. The next plant is this Anytime Plum Good Pansiola. Beautiful dark blooms on this one. I wanted to bring a little bit of a weight down here on the bottom. Since these are so dark, I didn't want the whole bottom to look really light and bright. I wanted there to be some weight to draw your eye down. So that's the next plant. This one is like huge. It's so pretty. Kind of weave some of those blooms around the yellow. Oh, sometimes I do arrangements and I'm like, meh, it's okay. The plants are pretty, but I'm not particularly happy with how I put it together. But I love how all of these plants look together. I think they're so pretty. All right, so one more anytime Dove Pansiola to tuck in right on this side. All right, so I'm gonna clean up my table here and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about the arrangement. All right, let me set this to the side for a second and I'll grab the second one. All right, guys, so look at these. Aren't they so pretty? This is like the picture of spring to me with the tulips and the yellow, the sweet pansiolas and the ivy. I just love it. Okay, so a few things. Like I said earlier on in the video, I do like to put a lot of plants in my spring containers, as you can tell. I think they look pretty. They aren't growing as fast because the temperatures are cooler, so they don't need as much room to grow, and I'm not trying to get a long time out of them. But I'm not throwing my money away necessarily either, because all of these tulips, as you know, you can plant these out in your landscape and they will come back. So what will happen is the tulips, after the flowers fade, I'll leave the foliage because it's still a nice upright strappy leaved looking plant. But as the foliage starts to yellow and wither and once it eventually dies back, I'll cut the foliage off and I'll pop the bulbs out and plant them in the landscape somewhere. So you can totally keep these from year to year. And then as far as the other plants go, the pansiolas are actually hardy to zone 5. So zones 5 through 10 on these guys. So I can pop these out and plant them in the landscape somewhere as I can with the ivy. The only two that are actually annuals in my area are the Nemesia, that little yellow Nemesia, and this Toffee Twist Carex. But I can use those plants in other arrangements because the Nemesia will bloom throughout the season and the Toffee Twist Carex just looks beautiful like this all season long. Now I did add up how much these arrangements cost because you guys are always asking me in the comment section how much my projects cost, and this time I actually paid attention to what I was doing and added it up. So like I said earlier though, I did have these containers already, so I didn't have to purchase these this year, and you guys probably have pots at home that you utilize from year to year. So the stuff I put in them cost $25, so $25 per pot, which I think is totally worth it. I mean, if you think about what cable TV costs nowadays, it's like $75 a month. I'd rather spend $50, even if these lasted only 1 month. I'd rather spend $50 on this than cable TV. So I don't know, priorities. I would rather look at these beautiful flowers through the spring season. And I honestly don't think it's that much for what you're getting because there's what, 1, 2, 3 pansiolas, and the tulips and the ivy are all perennial in most, like down to zone 5, I think. So they're really tough plants. And then the Nemesia and the Toffee Twist Carex are plants that I can enjoy all season, not just in the spring. So it's not like I'm throwing money away for just 1 month of enjoyment. So anyway, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little inspiration project. I hope you guys are really enjoying your spring. If you have put together stuff, arrangements like this, please post it in the comment section or post it to our page. I love to see pictures. I do see them all. And I think everybody else likes to see them too because a lot of action happens on all those pictures. It's just inspiring to see what everybody's doing. So anyway, see you guys in the next video. Bye.